Marvel fans, it's time to start counting down the days. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is coming on the 11th of November, meaning there's just over a month left, and the countdown will continue during the movie itself, as it's shaping up to be the longest Marvel movie since Avengers Endgame. We're gonna tell you all about the long runtime and why it needs to be so long in this video. First up, the Forever in Wakanda Forever applies to the movie's runtime, 161 minutes. That's the figure revealed by The Hollywood Reporter on how long you'll get to watch the story of Black Panther's sequel unfold. Now, the MCU has never been shy of long runtimes. In fact, you could say that they're helping rebuild the audience patience for longer movies. In fact, why don't we go ahead and stack the Black Panther sequel against the MCU's other long runners? Avengers Endgame is still the longest Marvel movie of all time, and clocking in at just over 3 hours, it's likely to stay that way for a while. But Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has officially beaten out Eternals for second place, with the former's 2 hours and 41 minutes exceeding the latter's 2 hours and 36 minutes by a touch. What's interesting is that while Endgame had to be so long because the fate of the Marvel Universe was on the line, some of the longest MCU movies of all time have been more focused affairs. Eternals has been demoted to third place by a Black Panther movie, and Spider-Man: No Way Home is still hanging in the top 5 at 2 hours and 28 minutes. The runtimes of these movies show that even on an individual and group level, the heroes of the Marvel Universe have epic stories. Meanwhile, Thor and Ant-Man make up most of the shortest movies of the MCU. All of these characters' movies finish in under 2 hours, and they're joined by the first Doctor Strange and the Incredible Hulk. Next, let's take a look at what's jacking up the film's length. It isn't hard to imagine why Black Panther 2 would need so much time to do its thing. There's a lot of ground the movie has to cover. We haven't been up to speed on the formerly secretive African nation since the Battle of Wakanda took place between their military and the forces of Thanos, which was even before the snap. There have been a few mentions and cameos, but even those weren't all that revealing. The plot of the movie will apparently trot the globe and even traverse the lands under the sea. We'll be introduced to Namor, everyone's favorite Marvel character to hate, who leads his own nation of Tenochtitlan at the bottom of the sea. Considering how much attention Black Panther lavished on the wonders of Wakanda, we're expecting Tenochtitlan to get a similar level of focus in this movie. You've got enough material there for a 2.5-hour film already, but life threw a complication into Marvel Studios' planning. It has been 2 years since the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther himself, from colon cancer. While a franchise of superhero movies was far from the most pressing matter in Boseman's life, it has created a situation for Marvel to figure out. We suspect that a major focus of the movie will be on the question of who inherits T'Challa's mantle. Will it be his sister Shuri, his lover Nakia, his general Okoye? Could we see Angela Bassett don the suit? All of those except the last one maybe are possible. Now there's only one more reason why Wakanda Forever is so long, and that's because this movie will also be closer to Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This era of the MCU has been defined by introductions of new characters, as well as 2 overarching plot lines. On one line, we have Valentina assembling a team of misfits that will eventually become the Thunderbolts. But the cover story of this MCU saga is, of course, the multiverse. While the movies of Phase 4 have been pretty disconnected from each other, there must be something that ties the main focus areas of the phase together. They're not expecting any cameos, but there could be a multiverse talk. Namor and Tenochtitlan seem a little more mystical compared to the technological advancement of Wakanda, so they may have some idea of what the multiverse is. As for the Thunderbolts, it's hard to imagine that Valentina's shenanigans won't be on the radar of the Dora Milaje. It'll be interesting to see what, if anything, Wakanda has to feel about a new team of heroes that claim to replace the Avengers, especially since T'Challa had worked with the Avengers in the past. Let's look at the broader look at this trend of longer movies. You might assume that the average person wouldn't like to watch super long movies, but movie runtimes have been ballooning across the industry in recent years. Outside the MCU, recent long runners include the Bond flick No Time to Die, Oscar-nominated musical West Side Story, as well as Ridley Scott's recent films House of Gucci and The Last Duel. None of the movies have dared to approach the 3 hours of Endgame, but 2.5-hour movies are becoming more normalized than ever, considering that around a decade ago, 2 hours was considered an epic length. That's quite the shift. Part of the credit for this has got to go to Marvel Studios. With Infinity War and Endgame both becoming among the highest-grossing flicks of all time, the rest of the industry took the hint people aren't scared of length anymore. But there are still some reasons to keep a movie's length trim. One big one is that the shorter a movie is, the more shows a theater can fit into its schedule, and the more money it can make. This was naturally a bigger problem before a certain virus wiped movies off of Hollywood's slate. Fewer movies are coming out now than before the pandemic, so they have more room to expand their runtimes. Will movies get even longer? We suppose it'll depend to some degree on how long Marvel Studios dares to stretch out their next pair of Avenger movies. Before we go though, who might end up with Black Panther's throne? The MCU cannot go on too long without a Black Panther, and so even if the movie turns his suit into a contested hand-me-down like Captain America's shield was, someone will become the permanent Panther by the end. The only question is who it'll end up being. In some ways, Shuri should be the obvious choice. She's the sister of the previous Black Panther, so in traditional succession laws, the mantle would pass to her. Her character was also pretty popular from her appearances so far, meaning you'd think the fans would be happy too. Unfortunately, actress Letitia Wright hasn't quite come out of the shadow of some of the weird stuff she said and tweeted during the pandemic, so Disney might not be comfortable having her as one of their marquee heroes. Two other choices would be Nakia and Okoye. They're both much more talented as fighters than Shuri, and the actresses portraying them haven't gotten into a real-life trouble. The problem with them becoming Black Panther is that Wakandan traditions don't really have a way for the title to pass to them, so the writers would have to contrive a way to make it happen. On top of that, Lupita Nyong'o has a pretty promising career ahead of her, so you'd have to wonder how many years of it she would be willing to sign away to Marvel Studios. Finally, what about Namor? The Submariner has taken a while to show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but he's been a major figure in the Marvel Comics universe since his 1939 creation of Bill Everett. He's an anti-hero whose main motivation is to do what's best for himself and his kingdom, which is called Atlantis instead of Tenochtitlan, for now anyway. Namor is also a mutant and the son of a human and an Atlantean princess, which may sound familiar. As ruler of Atlantis, Namor can most commonly be found in comics featuring the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, but when he does something silly like invade a nation on the surface, he does end up pinging the radar of the Avengers. His significance to the landscape of the Marvel Universe is such that he's even a member of the Illuminati. That's right, in the comics, even the 616 universe has an Illuminati. Alongside other members of the Illuminati, Namor has voted on several issues relating to planet Earth and, in the case of the 2015 Secret Wars storyline, the multiverse. You heard that right, Namor is featured heavily in the storyline that will soon be adopted into an Avengers movie, and we're sure that he'll be a big part of the movie too. While Wakanda Forever is making Namor out to be a villain in trailers, don't be fooled. Namor is one of the comics' oldest anti-heroes. So while we can't expect him to clash with the Wakandans, he's just as likely to work alongside them by the end. Well, that's it for today's video. Does the reveal of the movie's runtime affect your excitement for the movie? How do you feel about movies getting longer over time? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.